let's get started.
All right.
Good to meet you, Anthony.
I am having an awesome day. I hope you're doing it well too.
Yeah, I'm having a good day as well. Now, I do coaching sessions all the time.
Yeah.
But not usually public ones.
Okay.
So let's just talk a little bit about that. I guess I'll introduce myself since you're not the only one here with us right now.
Sure thing. Yeah.
My name's Noah Church. I'm a porn addiction and porn-induced sexual dysfunction recovery coach. And I operate off of addictedtointernetporn.com. I have a lot of personal experience in this area. Started using pornography when I was just a kid, like 9 or 10 years old. Didn't really realize the negative effects that it had on my life until I was 24. Mm-hmm. So a lot older than you are now.
Yeah.
And that's when my journey really started.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? Who are you?
I'm Anthony, and I've been basically on this journey for over a year and a half. I started when I was 17. For me, it was like I'm a devout Catholic, and I first got into pornography, and basically it was something that I wanted to distance myself from, but I just never could because it was like, it's pornography. It's like super pleasurable. It's a powerful stimulus and nothing I ever experienced before, especially when you're 17. It just really hit me hard. And after about like a year and a half, I just couldn't get any traction. So I came to a point where I'm like, I got to start something, do something different, because I read tons of books on it, kept on listening to different podcasts, kept on doing different things, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. So I'm like, I got to go public with this, and I got to hold myself accountable and help out other people, because I know that's one way to help out. Started a YouTube channel. I got up to 16 days, relapsed, and then I've got up to where I am now, which is like 89 days porn free, which is just insane. And it's because of like tons of work, and the YouTube channel has helped out tremendously.
Mm-hmm. 89 days. That's one day away from the big 90. That's
I know.
Around.
Yeah. So
I'm sure there were times when you doubted you would ever get there.
Oh yeah. But you know how Matt Fradd says, he said, it's one day at a time. It's like freedom is a daily choice. And for me, that was like, and that's what I did. I just focused on the day. Mm-hmm. And it pulled me through a lot of tough times.
And I know a bit about your background already because you emailed me some details, but I'd like to just go over it again.
For sure, man.
So you started, you said, when you were 17. Had anyone at that point warned you about pornography? Because I know that you are religious and grew up in a religious environment. Was that a topic of conversation?
Obviously, it was like a more like, my parents like to say sex to marriage, that's morally wrong. And I was like, I never thought I would even masturbate before. I always looked at, someone's doing that. I'm too good to do that. Little did I know. It's just, it definitely became something that I did. And I didn't even know porn was harmful. I thought it was just, people said that's what you did. And so when the first time I masturbated, I'm like, might as well do it to porn. And I had no clue. I had zero clue.
Okay. So that was the first time you'd ever masturbated as well, was the first time you used porn?
Yeah. And I was 17. I was like, yeah.
And what led you to that decision to masturbate for the first time?
Well, I really love philosophy, and basically I concocted an argument to disprove the existence of God, but it was just because I was super horny. I couldn't say anything else about it. I was, and then afterwards, like when I came to him, just like, Anthony, you idiot, you absolute idiot, because the only reason why I did that, your brain is really good at rationalizing things. And I came to a point where I felt consumed by it, and I just rationalized.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, we like to think of ourselves as very logical, rational creatures, but the truth is,
that's fine.
We tend to follow our impulses and then afterwards sort of convince ourselves that it was a logical decision.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100%. And it's not true, And that's what happened to me. And I fell, and then I got into it. And then it was Pandora's box in the extremest sense. And getting out of it was.
So tell me about how it developed after that first time.
Oof. So actually at first, while it was insanely pleasurable, I was able to get off of it for 2 months because I talked to my priest about it. I'm like, hey, he's my spiritual director. And he's like, all right, Anthony, you just got to stop. And I did. Got covenant eyes. I stopped for like 2 months. But then I was curious again. And the curiosity, I broke. And then I started to do 20-day streaks, then 15. and then 10, and then 7, and then what I got in a habit of is I would basically go to confession. I'd feel guilt-free, clean. I'd go for like a week, maybe 2 weeks, relapse again. Then when I relapse, though, I binge. So maybe I take like a week and I just do porn like every single day. And then I would go to confession and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And it was just driving bonkers. So that's what was going on there.
And during that time, did you ever masturbate without pornography, or was it always with pornography?
There were a couple times, but it would just be like I was in school. But if I had the opportunity, it was with pornography, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did you notice any change in the type of things that you were watching?
Yes, it got deeper. Fortunately, I've only did it for like, over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it started with, just normal like sex scenes. And then I got into like threesomes and then sex when people were like sleeping. But that was it, man. That was it. That's as deep as I got down the rabbit hole. And then I stopped there. So.
And during this time,
is anime weird? I watched some anime porn too.
I mean, it's common.
Okay, yeah. So that's what happened. Yeah, that's
whether it's weird or not depends on opinion, but it's
okay. Okay.
Now, during this time, you said that at the beginning you had no idea that pornography was harmful in any way over and above masturbation itself.
Exactly. I thought it was the same level.
When did you learn about the potential harms of pornography, and did that change
that's a good
your
question.
journey at all?
I think when I started to look in resources how to break the habit,
mm-hmm.
I think then I started to look up like things like NoFap, and then I'm like, or you know what? No. I remember I was watching listening to Pints with Aquinas,
mm-hmm.
and then I think Matt Fradd plugged Love People Use Things, and then I'm like, oh, Matt Fradd does things on pornography. I'm like, oh, this is cool, and so I started to research into that, and then that's how I got into it because it was through his work that then I found Love People Use Things, and then I found like other resources for NoFap. So yeah, that's how that happened.
And what other resources? Have you read any books on this, or?
I listened to Matt Fradd's audiobook, The Porn Myth.
Mm-hmm.
Then I read books like Stick With It, which is habit formation, and then books like Awaken the Giant with a lot of self-help. So one book related to pornography, lots of YouTube videos like Your Brain on Porn. I think there's a YouTube video on that. It's like a documentary. It was like an hour long. That was really interesting. Improvement Pill. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He did a little bit of NoFap and the effects of it and why people are successful when they're on it. So that's what I looked into resources there. And then I'm on a support group with a lot of friends who are also really involved in, breaking free from this addiction. And so they've also accumulated a lot of knowledge that we talk about. So that's
very cool. Yeah, because the first step, of course, is educating yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Knowledge is power.
Because then you're just like, this is going to it's so awful that it's like, why do you want to even do it anymore?
Mm-hmm.
So,
now, you said in your email that it's your vision for your life that you want to become a Catholic priest and be celibate for life, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Why don't you tell me some more about that?
So I wasn't always a super devout Catholic. There was a time in my life that I would have identified more as like a closet atheist.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I was a wishful atheist, actually. I wanted to believe that God existed because my family did. It was awesome, but then just had too many questions. Like hell was a really confusing thing for me. I'm like, if you don't believe in God, you'll go to hell. Like, what? I'm like, that's your argument? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I started to go down like a rabbit hole. I got really interested in like apologetics. And then I got really into philosophy. And so I questioned a lot of my beliefs. I had a lot of struggles with that. It was very nihilistic. And then I came back to the faith through, Thomas Aquinas. And then I started to have a lot more doubts because I had this one question on my mind for like a year and it was bugging the hell out of me. And it was, who basically, you can't just say like God created everything because who created God? And then I listened to Matt Fradd's podcast and that's when I got really into like Aquinas. And then I went down the rabbit hole again. And then I always wanted to be a priest though. When I was like younger, I talked about it. Then I was like, no, I want to have sex. I want to have kids. I was 14 and I'm like, I want to do it. And then I started to doubt it because I want to have sex. This was a common theme. And but then I was like, now that I'm in college and I'm on my own, Like now I know it's what I want and know what I'm meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's actually easier knowing that I'm going to just be celibate, in a sense too, because it's like, then I'm talking to some of my other friends, because some of them, I live in Vermont, which is like the most non-religious state. So like I have like 0 other Catholics who are friends, which might have contributed to the fact of why I always doubted. But anyways, talking to them, they always talk about how it's hard for them to like, do nofap or whatnot. Even though it's only like 1 or 2 of them, because, they have opportunities for sex and porn all the time. So it's harder for them to have that no, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going on with that.
And do you have any doubts now that celibacy is the way for you for the rest of your life?
Obviously I need to continue to discern. I'm not going to say like, oh God, you're dumb. I'm going to just listen to my way and I'm going to go with it fully in. But if that's what I continue to discern once I'm in seminary, and God willing, if that happens, then that's the goal. And I do plan, I'm at peace with it. It used to be really tough. I used to think I couldn't do it, but now I think actually pornography helped me discern that, yes, I can do it and I can leave that behind, because I feel amazing. I really feel awesome now.
And that includes abstinence from masturbation as well, right?
Yep. So it's completely celibate, and it's not easy, but it's doable. It's not like we'll die,
Right. Now, you said that you felt guilty, of course, when you would use pornography, and that led to a lot of internal strife. What other things did you notice that pornography caused in your life? Negative consequences.
I see. This is interesting, because there might have been a lot of things to do with it, because my addictions came in like threefold. It was pornography, video games, and food.
Okay.
So I was very overweight. I played tons of video games, and I used pornography. Mm-hmm. And those were my vices. So I don't exactly know how much porn contributed to with like video games and food, but I do know when I stopped using pornography, the effects I felt now is I feel just excited about things. I feel more ambitious. I feel more passionate in my life. I feel less anxiety. I feel more self-assured and confident. I don't feel as anxious. I don't feel very stressed. I can let things slide off easier. I don't have to think about when I'm talking to someone. I can just talk to them. I don't have brain fog. So yeah, a lot of these things, and I don't feel guilty, or I don't feel depressed. I feel I was looking through the window today, and I was sitting at lunch, and just like, I feel like I used to, like back before I used pornography. I'm like, I feel normal.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. Love it. So.
And okay, calling back to how you were before you started using pornography and how you are now.
Yeah.
As through this journey of 89 days, when did you notice those changes happening? When you were starting to return to those old feelings of perhaps innocence or self-confidence, self-assurance?
That's a really good question. I like this. It's like you've done this before or something. So I got those feelings, I think, around day 20-ish. I started to feel better, I noticed. Not as I do now. Probably day 60 was another landmark where I felt like, yeah, I really feel a difference. I'm really feeling better now. I really feel a lot more assured. But honestly, today and yesterday have been the best days of my life in a long time. Something like clicked, and I feel just super excited, passionate, just feeling awesome. And,
amazing.
I mean, I've been exercising too. I've been adding a lot of new habits and playing piano and whatnot, learning new things.
Yeah, usually one of two things happens when someone quits porn. Either it's a keystone habit. Have you ever heard of that phrase before?
Yeah, yep. The reading, meditation, and exercise, right?
Well, keystone habit just implies a habit that once you work on solving it, or like say someone's a smoker, they've always wanted to quit smoking. Once they're able to do that and learn how to overcome that compulsion, it sort of starts a domino effect in the rest of their lives, and other aspects of their lives start to improve as well. They notice themselves eating healthier, exercising more. They're more ambitious, more focused.
Eating healthy has still been tough because,
So usually either one of two things happens with guys.
But yeah, I've noticed that.
They either quit porn and notice that they're doing a lot better in other aspects of their lives. They're more motivated and ambitious to exercise more or whatever other goals that they have.
Sure.
Or they tend to fall back and rely more on their other vices, playing more video games, for example, eating more junk food, just to sort of distract themselves.
Oh yeah, I've done a little bit of that too, with the eating. I definitely felt like in times that I really wanted to use pornography, I might have gone to eating sometimes to like give me that stress reliever or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I bring that up because it's important to recognize that drive to overeat, or that drive to lose yourself in video games, or the drive to go to porn and lose yourself there, it all comes from the same place, which is a place of wanting to escape whatever pain or unmet need you have inside of you. And I want to tell you that you don't have to be afraid of those feelings, no matter how much they hurt, because they're not going to kill you. It's not going to be the end, and it's not going to last forever. But the more you try to escape from them or numb them, the more powerful they become. And when you're able to just sit with them and listen to them, then they can tell you what you actually need in order to be satisfied and fulfilled and happy.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, throughout this 89 days, did you notice that your emotional state, so if you charted on a graph, did it just go up steadily, or was it all over the place, up and down?
Oh yeah, I definitely think, because I had a really tough time on like day 63 or something, because I went over to a friend's house in Canada, stayed at his place, but tell you, this sucked. He had Playboy magazine pictures like taped all over his walls, like tons of different pictures. I walked in, hadn't seen pornographic in like 63 days. I was like, oh my gosh, are you trying to kill me? I'm like, what are you doing? And that threw me off for like the next like week and a half. Like I was having super strong urges and like super tough. So that was something that made it go really hard. And then, there were other times too where, especially in the beginning, I felt a lot of like really pain, anxiousness right here, like in my heart. It's just really awful feelings, and I wanted to use porn to escape from those.
Sure.
That really sucked in the beginning. So yeah, there were a lot of times that it was like down and down and down, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get through this, but I had a very strong why, I think, now compared to other times, because there's just been so many reasons now I have to why I want to give this addiction up, like the YouTube channel, my faith, what I want to do, like actually wanting to go in the priesthood. It's so hypocritical. And I'm like, I'm not someone who's going to like say something and then do the other thing. I just can't do that. And I just had to be honest with myself. And even though there are times that I want to use it, because especially when I wanted to escape, because I noticed it was a couple of days ago that I kind of lost focus of my vision for what I wanted with my life. And I wasn't exercising. I kind of stopped in that, and I wasn't like remembering why I started. And I started to really want to use porn. I wanted to escape. I didn't, because I had my support group that I would reach out to, which I think it's been one of the things, like I have a couple cornerstone things I fall back to when I have urges. One of them is the support group. I'm like, guys, I'm having a tough time. They'll do like a video call. They'll type to me. That's been super. I can't stress the importance of that enough. The YouTube channel, the people who watch me every day, like, and they're like, I can't feel for that. I've had a nightmare where I relapsed.
Dude, I've had dozens of those, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, it's so weird. Like, you think, like, I'm thinking about, like, a nightmare that I relapsed to pornography. Like, what a weird thing. And then I would have dreams in the past where I would, like, relapse or, like, actually go and, like, masturbate. I would think to myself, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, thank God, it was just a dream,
Yeah, it doesn't really happen to me anymore, but, like, the first 6 months, yeah, it was very common. I'd be in the dream panicking, wondering, what am I doing? And then, wake up in a cold sweat and breathe a sigh of relief that it wasn't real.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, sometimes in the dreams, I'm like, no, don't do it. And it's like, so it's weird.
Now, you said that you first opened up to your mother and your brother and your priest, right? About all this?
Yeah.
How did that feel to finally get it out and talk to somebody about it?
I think I told my brother first, and I remember crying. It was, I didn't know how to tell him, because I looked at myself kind of like, oh yeah, I'm perfect. I don't do anything wrong. And we're driving, and we pull into a Salvation Army, and I just start, bawling my eyes out. He's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, Peter, I masturbated to pornography. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then And so we had that. And then where it really hit me, though, was going to confession, telling the priest. Because I was doing spiritual direction with him. And, we're working to, like, enter the priesthood. And I'm like, how am I going to tell him? And I'm like, I was so nervous. I was shaking. I actually was like crying for like 5 minutes, and he had to like coax it out of me. Very patient, very loving. And then I finally did it. And when I did, man, it was the best feeling of my life. I felt so liberated, so free. I went home like crying, and I was just so happy. And yep.
Yeah.
And that's when I think I got off of porn for 2 months. I think that's when I stopped. But then I went back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big step for a lot of people, is telling someone for the first time, breaking down their walls, because any sort of compulsion or addiction thrives in isolation and secrecy, and shed some light on it, and it makes things a lot easier. Of course, if you get complacent or forget what you learned, it's always very easy to slip back into it. Yeah. And then there's a new secret, because every time you do it, then that's something else to confess or something else to be ashamed of, if it's something that you really don't want in your life. And you learn that, of course. And so there's a lot of different aspects to this journey. You're learning. A lot of them you've already learned a lot. There's more to learn. But I can tell you that most guys do experience a lot of ups and downs on their journey, especially in the first 3 to 6 months. But when you zoom out and look at a wider scale, then there is an uptrend that keeps going up and up until you find your new normal. And it won't always be as hard as it has been in times during these 90 days. The longer you get away from pornography, the more you learn about how to maintain that lifestyle, the easier it becomes. And I'm glad that you were exposed to those triggers in your friend's room with all the Playboy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Because we cannot avoid triggers, and that shouldn't be our primary goal. We can manage our environment to make it friendlier and avoid those as much as possible, but we can't be afraid to ever see them, because we live in a sexualized world, and we need to be able to stick with our values and on our course when we are exposed to those things.
Hey, what do you think about this? So I remember, I think it was like a week after it happened, and I was sitting on the dining room table on my brother's laptop, and then I had this urge that it reminded me of every single time I relapsed. It was this feeling when I'd go on striking it, like felt like my whole body just got like seized, and then it was a feeling of like letting go to that, just the routine that you go into. You find the laptop, then you go downstairs, and then you do the stuff. But that feeling came, and I was thinking to myself, oh no, because I'm like, I haven't felt this feeling, this streak. It's been like 60 days. I haven't felt it, and it's here. And I'm like, this is when I always relapse. Like that was the feeling. And then the support group was what I went to. I'm like, and I went to the support group, and then once I talked about it, it passed. And after that, I felt like I was on like a next level. I was like, whoa, I'm like, what is this? This is so cool. So that's.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. When that happens, there's a trigger that just puts you back in those same pathways in your brain that always leads you to use pornography. And it can feel like all of a sudden you're just on rails and being pushed forward toward that action, no matter what you try to do. But when you are able to break out of that, and you did, then it can lead to, like you said, the next level. It can lead to a much greater degree of self-confidence in this recovery journey, and really break through that. I mean, I remember a time when I had that urge, I had that feeling of being railroaded, and I was just like tossing and turning in my bed all night. Got like 2 hours of sleep. Yeah. It was probably the hardest night resisting urges that I ever had. But the next morning when I woke up and I hadn't used pornography, I felt fantastic. So it's those hardest battles that when you get through them, get to the other side, that you feel the best.
Yes. Yeah. 100%, man. 100%, Noah. I completely agree.
So since tomorrow is day 90, a lot of guys think that, after 90 days, problems are over. Of course, that's not the truth, as you or I know. What I say is that almost everybody sees very significant progress in 90 days, but it takes much longer than that to really reach new normal and reach a place of stability in living this porn-free life. So what is your vision for after day 90? You think you'll have a lot more problems?
I think I can't get complacent like you're talking about, because this is what's great about the YouTube channel. Every day I had a day to reflect and talk about that and have a place to say, hey, this is what I'm going through. And I don't plan on continuing to do the daily vlogs because I want to do more quality videos and like maybe do more in health or whatnot. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. But it's been super helpful doing that. But the vision for the life would be to continue like, you know, working on my hobbies like piano. I still enjoy playing video games. I don't do it nearly like I don't use it as an escape as much as I used to,
Sure.
which was like really terrible. But I just love the game that I play. I spent too many hours. I spent a lot of hours. 30.700. Don't tell anybody. It's like, but I see myself going into the seminary within like the next year or two, and you know, building my knowledge of philosophy and theology, and then getting to do more public speaking and to meet more people who like talking about the things I like talking about, and to be in that kind of culture and environment. Because I visited before and it was a really awesome place, tons of wonderful people, just great environment where I really felt like I was growing. And here in Vermont, like it's great, but I don't really have the support. It's like I'm very isolated. Like people respect me, they'll listen to me. It's great. I have tons of friends, but I've never felt that degree of closeness with someone who, you know, really gets you.
Mm-hmm.
I've only felt that a couple times in my life with only a few people, and it was usually just an hour, and then it just left. But since I know it exists, I want to find that feeling of like that relationship, and I just want to keep like, you know, my health is the next thing I really want to crank down on.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be 290 pounds, and I've lost a lot of weight, but it's still like it's got much better, but it's not good yet. And I still want to crank it on, like cut down the carbohydrates and whatnot. I think that's going to be the biggest thing because I don't want to use it as a crutch when I'm on NoFap, you know, because then it's really just kicking the can down the road. So that's what it is, Noah. Yeah.
And, you know, about video games, you know, I had some of the same compulsions as you, using video games as escape. I think at one point I played Kerbal Space Program for like 30 hours straight.
But it's impressive.
Yeah, it's not that you have to cut those things out of your life entirely. You might benefit from a time period in which you do, just to like a break from that, to teach yourself that you don't need it.
When I go home for a semester, I'm not going to play a game because it's this one game that's really like, when I was 14, I really got into it, and I've been into it, and I finally got to the place in the game that I've always imagined myself. And I've worked for like years to get to.
Is it like League of Legends or something?
No, it's Men Blade Warband and Playonic Wars. And you
probably
haven't heard of it.
No.
It sucks because it's such a small community, but it's something that I poured my heart and soul into. And I got very good at it. And since I spent so much time in it, and it's something that's really, when I play it, it's like a master pianist, you know, playing a piano. And it's something I enjoy. And I try to quit because I'm like, I know playing a lot of video games isn't good, but then I'm like, I feel that, but I spent so much time in it, and I just really enjoy playing it. So now I find myself like, I've told myself I take breaks now. I don't quit. I'm not going to say I'm going to quit for good. I'm going to say, hey, I notice I'm playing a lot of video games, and I'm going to take a week off, or I'm going to take a couple of days off and just put away my computer, put it under my bed, because it's a pretty big PC. But what I do is I take it down, and it's tough because I want to make YouTube videos with it, but that's the rationalization going on. So I just put it away.
Well, yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to be cut out of your life entirely, but we have to use those things consciously in a way that is not going to be unhealthy. And a good benchmark to use is, you know, afterwards, after I'm done with this, how am I going to feel? Am I going to feel happy with how I spent my time, satisfied with it, or am I going to feel bad about myself? And if you feel bad about yourself, then that's a sign that you're using it in the wrong way.
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna use that. That's a good one. Because I definitely do feel times where I play video games for like 8 hours, and I'm like, I just feel terrible after. But then there are sometimes like I just finished cranking in a couple papers because it was finals. Like just before our interview, the day before, tons of stuff was coming at me. But I finally cranked it all out. It's all done now. And I felt so good and so accomplished that when I played video games, it felt great because I'm like, I can just relax now. You know?
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing as well. If I finish everything I wanted to finish in a day and then feel like doing, you know, an activity like that, then I won't feel bad about it. But if I wake up and start the day with that, procrastinating, then I'll always feel bad about it. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. No.
So what do you do to keep yourself from becoming complacent?
Ooh, I really like that. I'm going to have to think about that. I think the number one thing I do is I try to reassess where I am and what I want with my life. And I tend to, complacency. I think it's a lot of like listening to like Jordan Peterson. Have you heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
I listen to a lot of Jordan Peterson, Tony Robbins. Well, not as much anymore. More Jordan Peterson, Matt Fred, like a lot of those guys, and see, where are they? And then just to continue making myself better, like focusing on the day by day stuff. Just, okay, how can I make today better than it was yesterday? And that tends to keep me going. And then also putting myself around people who are better than me in ways that I want to improve. Like, I don't really have that in real life a lot, but I have it in the support group. It's really great to have guys who are like, keep going, keep pushing, don't get complacent, keep fighting. And being around that culture and that community, it raises you up. It makes you better. And it's because there are times I'd find I get complacent. And then when I find that, it's a feeling, I don't know how to explain, but it's a feeling you get. And then that's when, like, this is going to sound like I'm crazy or psychopathic, but okay, not psychopathic. But I was like looking in the mirror. I'm like, Anthony, what are you doing with your life? You gotta like remember why you started this journey. Because it was when I was having that urge the day I emailed you. I was talking to myself. What do you want from your life? And sometimes I just need to like verbalize it and like speak it, because for me that it made me remember, like, you're on this journey to go into the priesthood, to go and preach, and you're here to like think about philosophy and help people in this world, and think about your life you can have. You can go and you can masturbate today, but I knew if I did that, everything would be derailed. Everything I've worked for. I'm like, you got an interview with Noah Church on Thursday. Like, come on, you got to stay strong. And you're working with like Woken Warrior, like another guy, and you're making a podcast with him. And I'm like, you're doing so much, and so many things are getting better. Why waste it? And that's how I think I wouldn't get complacent. But it's not perfect all the times, because there are times I get complacent. Like when I go home. In college, I'm rocking and rolling. When I go home to my house, all the old habits come back, start overeating. I have compulsions to want to use pornography, and that's what's going to happen for like a month. And that's why I'm not bringing my computer home, because I don't want to play video games for like 12 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah, environment has a huge impact on our habits and our actions.
Because when I went to college, I'm like, this is a new slate. So I started to like, I had a morning routine, wake up at like 6. I don't do that too much anymore, unfortunately. But what I do is like when I take my shower, I floss now, which I never did before. I floss, I brush, I like shave, I do all the stuff I didn't really like care about, take my medication. And it's just a routine now. And I work out at 4:00, 4:30, and then every like 2 days I go and I work out. So it's been good because I took advantage of that when I first got here.
Well, I recommend that before you go home, you have a pretty thorough plan. Like how do you want to spend your days? How do you want to work and accomplish the things that you can see yourself accomplishing when you're at home? And so it might be different goals than you have in your current environment, because you're around different people. You might have different resources, but there's always something you can work on.
I like that, because I didn't think about that. I didn't have a plan or anything.
Unstructured time and space is the enemy of all addicts. So it's important to have a plan and know what you're doing, know what your goals are, and have a purpose. Because when you don't, and you're just sort of floating listlessly, it's so easy for your mind to go to dark places.
Okay, I like that. Thank you. That's good advice.
Now, I'll give you another tool for staving off complacency and remembering the things that you need to remember. And this is a daily letter to yourself. It's something that you would write out, probably either on a piece of paper or you can print it out. And in this letter, you just write to yourself about what you're growing away from, the kind of life that you used to have and all the pain it caused you, that you don't want to go back to.
Start writing this down. That's good stuff.
You can always watch it back later since we're recording.
Oh, that's a good idea. We'll do that.
And also what you're growing towards,
Yep.
and what you see yourself becoming in the future, the different goals that you have that get you excited about life. The lessons that you've learned so far that have helped you, the things that you don't want to forget, the things that we learned about today in this call, the things that you learned from books. And this can be a letter that you change over time. You add things, you find out what works.
Yeah.
And what you're grateful for and who you're grateful for in your life, you know, it's very important to understand that we're living privileged lives, all of us in certain ways, and we have a lot to be grateful for. And remember that.
For sure.
And also like the values that you want to live by and what's really important to you and what's central to who you are. And if you write that letter out and every morning, first thing, you read that letter to yourself, preferably aloud, then every day you'll start that day knowing exactly who you are and you won't become complacent.
So do you think, I just want to make sure I got it right. So you write it every day and then at night, and then the morning you read it to yourself, the updated letter, or do you write a letter and then every morning you read it?
When you want to change it, when it needs to be changed, you change it. Otherwise, it can be the same letter every day.
All right. I like it.
Changed, yeah.
Sounds good. I'll do that.
Do you journal at all?
Yes and no. I used to do it daily because my teacher had us do it for homework. It was great. I enjoyed it. But where I found I kind of did the journaling was on my YouTube channel.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's where it kind of transitioned into.
Yeah. You said that it helps you to verbally process sometimes and just say things out loud. And
right.
Journaling is another way to sort of process your emotions. And
exactly.
Mindful.
But yeah, it definitely helps doing the YouTube channel just because you watch some of the videos, they're some of them are unstructured because it's just like, I just say, you know, what's on my mind? What am I going through? And you know, not everybody's like a fan of that, but some people are, and the people who, you know, watch every day, that's what I, you know, appreciate that people want to listen.
Yeah, like, for sure. And tell me about that decision point when you decided I'm going to go public and make a YouTube channel.
Well, it was, this is again, love people use things at dang podcast. I forget if it was you or Matt who were talking about how you're funding the porn industry by, you know, even adding your clicks or whatnot, and that you want to go and, you know, help by sharing your story. And, you know, that call to action, I was like, okay, I got it. I'll do it. Because I read a lot, and reading a lot made me feel that if you're really open, and if it shows that, you know, it turns your vulnerabilities into strengths. And it makes you, you know, you got to expose yourself to really find real meaningful connections. And you got to be passionate to who you are and what you are. And so I was like, you know what? I've done things before, and this is going to be tough. Hopefully nobody finds me in my real life, although tons of people are subscribed. But I'm like, if I can help out one person by doing this, then that's all I care about. And then that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to, because I came to a point where I'm like, I'm not making any changes. I've tried everything. I haven't tried this. This is something I can do. And this is something that, you know, maybe God wants me to do. Maybe that's why I struggled with pornography, because it's like, I never thought I'd be serving this group of people. Like, it was the last thing on my mind. If someone told me that when I was 18 years old, I'd be talking about pornography on the internet where everybody would see even my grandma, I would tell you that that's insane, and I'm not going to do that.
So you said you hoped that no one in your life found it, but obviously they did. Or did you share it with them?
I didn't share it with them, but like, my brother was subscribed. And oh, look, Mom. And I was like, oh, and then I remembered my dad. He goes, we're driving in the car. He's like, son, like, what, Dad? He's like, you know, the internet's a thing that everything will be on there forever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, where are you going with this? He's like, so I know, you know, you can do that stuff on your own. And he's like, I don't really think you should be doing that, because, you know, when you want to enter the priesthood, that might be there. I'm like, well, one thing, Dad, if I can help out one person, you know, then it'll make it worth it for me, even if I have to suffer a little bit and take that. And then also, what kind of person wants a priest who's not human?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Catholic, but speaking from an outsider's perspective, I'd say we need more priests who are open about their struggles and honestly trying to improve, rather than hypocritical and seeming perfect at the surface, but really struggling underneath.
Yeah. I'm not going to be someone I'm not. You know, I'm not a perfect person. I'm someone who's broken. I struggle. It sucks. I want to get better, and then I fail. I say I'm going to do something and I don't. So, but I'm here to somehow by continuing to practice and continuing to struggle, I made it to 89 days. And so that's something, and I'm not just made it. The days don't even matter. I'm just choosing that daily choice of freedom, because that's what matters ultimately. You know?
Exactly. Now, I have a journal assignment for you, since that's why I asked you about journaling.
Ooh, okay.
And this one, like we talked about in the beginning of this call, we're very good at rationalizing whatever we are feeling compelled to do. And so I just want you to write out all the rationalizations and lies that you've told yourself to get yourself to use porn in the past, or try to get yourself to use porn.
Ooh.
And then beneath each one of those lies, I want you to write the truth of the matter.
Oh, no, I like that.
And then in the future, when those same lies come around again in your mind, you'll be able to more easily recognize that, no, this is not the truth. I wrote about this. I recognize this.
I like that. Perfect. Awesome.
Now, got to be honest with you, most of the guys I work with, celibacy is not their goal.
Yeah.
And certainty is a very powerful thing in addiction recovery. And it's, for a lot of those guys, easy to be certain that what they want is an actual, relationship with satisfying sexual experience, an actual bond with somebody else. And so that certainty can carry them through a lot of the doubts and the urges to use pornography. And I'm not telling you that, that's what your goal should be. You make your own goals. But I can tell you that doubt is a crack that's easily exploited by addiction. So I just want you to be sure that celibacy and being a priest is what you want and is what will fulfill you. And if you are certain, then that's a powerful thing that can carry you through a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you speak to the heart on that one, because I can again, it goes back to how can I say one thing and do the other. I was always raised in, when you say, if you're going to talk it, you walk it. And it's something that I definitely know that's what I know now, at least what I feel now, what I know now is that that's what I'm going to do. And I'm willing to make that sacrifice, because it's not easy. It's not something that I'm going to be like, woohoo, this is great. It's like, that's really tough. I asked myself a question. I'm like, well, why do you want to go into priesthood? I'm like, really? Let's say you didn't. I'm like, well, if I did, if I was in the priesthood, I wouldn't be like, maybe I should have got married. But I know if I was married, I'd be like, maybe I should have been a priest. And for me, then I was like, ooh. And so that's kind of where that helped me gain an understanding of what I want to do. Because for a while, I was like, I didn't exactly know what exactly was it. And then so I started to ask myself a couple questions. And I kind of got to the root of the matter.
Well, if celibacy is what you want, sexual energy is creation energy. It's about creating life. And if we're not channeling it in that way, in a physical way, in creating life, or seeking relationships, seeking a partner, then it's important to channel it in other ways, creating other things, putting yourself into the world in more spiritual or creative ways. And so a lot of this journey is more about what we add into our lives than what we take out of it. It's not just about removing pornography, because remove that and there's a hole in our life. And that hole is a vacuum that wants to suck something into it. And if there's nothing else going into that, then it brings pornography back into your life.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be important in this journey to really understand, what do you want to create? How do you want to impact this world? And keep your eye on that. Put it in that daily letter. Recognize it every day and acknowledge it every day, and work toward it in a little way every single day. And that will allow you to put your head down at night on the pillow and be proud of yourself and be satisfied with your day. And if you can do that, that's 100 steps toward being a porn-free life, living a porn-free life right there.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. I don't think I can give you an answer now. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. You're 18. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So, are there any questions you have for me?
When you were like 5, did you know? When I grow up,
No.
Yeah.
I did know I always wanted to be a writer, and I wrote the book. So
yeah. Yeah. How'd you come about doing that, by the way, with the book?
Well, it started just as an
Do you
online.
advertise it for the people listening?
Oh yeah. So I wrote the book Whack Addicted to Internet Porn, and you can find it on Amazon, but it's also available as a PDF for free on my website if you subscribe to my newsletter. Again, that's addictedtointernetporn.com. And you can also find ways to get my personal help there, sessions like this, or help over email. But yeah, I started that. Actually, it didn't start as a book. It started as an online journal on the recovery forum, Your Brain Rebalanced. And yeah, when I first decided to quit porn, I just spent 3 days writing. That's all I did, was writing out my entire history and what I was feeling, what I wanted. And after that, I realized I didn't really want to stop writing. So that idea turned into, well, I want to write the book that I would have needed when I was 18 and first struggling with these problems, or even younger. And I didn't want people out there who were struggling like I did to search for answers and not find the answers that would help them.
Here's a question I want to ask you. So for myself, my demographics, people who watch me tend to be people who are like 25 to like 35 or something, that age range. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people who are actually younger, like my age. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, do you find the same thing, like that the younger people tend to not really know about it? Or
no, I haven't looked at my YouTube demographics recently, so I don't have a statistical breakdown. But a lot of the people I work with are 18 to early 20s. And I work with people from all over the age range, anywhere from, well, even younger than 18 when the parents are involved and want my help too, and up to, 60, 70 years old. But the majority are probably early 20s to mid 30s.
So how do you deal with people who are like kind of porn deniers? Like they're like, no, it's good for you. It's something that's like, have you ever run into people like that?
Yeah, but I generally don't deal with them because it's my vision for myself that the way I can be most productive is by helping and educating those who already know that they want that help and education, and not so much battling it out with those people who aren't interested in hearing what I have to say. And if there are plenty of those people out there who are interested and who want to learn and want to better themselves, that I don't need to spend my time convincing people who think that porn is good for them.
Like if someone, maybe this is a better question. If someone is looking to find more like resources and whatnot, like where would you first send them?
Well, usually I send people first to my book, and then my book has a list of other resources in the back. But yourbrainonporn.com is the Bible of all information related to pornography addiction and sexual dysfunction. And that site has links to any information that you'd want to know about any topic related to pornography.
And when did you decide you wanted to be a coach? And like, how did that come about?
Well, it came about just because after I wrote the book and started the YouTube channel, and I was just sharing my story at that point. And then I started answering people's questions because people would email me with their own stories. And I figured, well, if I'm going to answer this person, I might as well do it publicly so other people get the benefit from the answer as well. And over time, I just realized that if I wanted to spend as much time doing this as I should, then I needed to turn it into some sort of a business. So I decided, well, I'll continue giving away all this information for free because I want everyone to know it. But if people want personal guidance and help through this, then I can offer my time and services that way. And so that was like late 2015 that I first started coaching.
Do you feel like there's a demand for what you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because is it something that you self-taught yourself pretty much by just the experience or whatnot?
Yeah, I'm not a certified therapist or a medical professional or anything like that. I'm a coach, and I can help guide you in your life, help you achieve your goals, things like that. I've seen and worked with hundreds of people who've been through all pornography-related problems, so I've seen it all and heard it all by this point. Well, I can't say that. I sometimes do hear things still that surprise me or that I haven't heard before. But for the most part, a lot of people's stories are very similar veins throughout all of them. And that's who I am now. And I used to work a job in the summers. I was fighting wildfires, so it was a seasonal job. But now I'm at the point in this business where I retired from that and I'm doing this full time.
Oh, really? So that's awesome to hear, because like, I think more people like you, it would be awesome to see, because there's really not a lot of help at first. I think now there's getting more out, a lot more people are being supported, but it's tough. Like when I found that support group, I never heard anything like it. Like there was the forums, you know, but nothing like that. And anybody who's watching, if you want to get more information about it, you email me at slimy@gmail.com. It's you go to my about page, look at my email thing. I found that was super helpful. What do you say to someone who doesn't have something like that? Do you find is there anything in like real life people go to, or is it just for like support wise?
Yeah. There's all sorts of support that you can find in your life, whether it's just a friend or a priest or a family member. And as far as structured support for specifically people struggling with pornography, there are sexual addiction groups out there, and some of them have a lot of people who struggle with pornography. Some of them are specific to pornography. And it really depends on your area, though, whether or not you're going to find a helpful group like that. But they are out there. They do exist. But currently, the most reliable ways to find that support are online, places like Your Brain Rebalanced, nofap.com, rebootnation.org, and also just information on yourbrainonporn.com and my own website, my own stuff.
So what made it really click for you, Noah, when you knew like this was it? Was there a time that you could articulate?
But I knew that what was it? What was
so
what?
That you're done using porn.
I had many of those times because
the
very first time was, the very end of 2013 was when I first saw Gary Wilson's TED Talk, The Great Porn Experiment, which I'm sure you've seen. Yeah. And that was my light bulb moment. And I was sure at that.
I have. I
hope so. If not, then you should go watch it. But
I watched your talk that you gave at that place, if that makes sense. Like you were on a, okay, this is going to sound really.
The mystery box storytelling event?
All I know is you were on a stage and you're talking about it, and then people laughed at what you're saying. Okay, this is going to be.
Yeah, okay, that's the mystery box one.
Okay, so
that was back in 2014.
It's on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, yep. But definitely look up The Great Porn Experiment.
You talked about you had like relationships with women, and then you talked about PIED. Do you want to talk about that? Because I don't think I've ever run into that myself. Of course, I could never find out. So
I can say a little bit about it. Yeah, I mean, there are a variety of sexual dysfunctions that can arise out of overuse of pornography. There's porn-induced erectile dysfunction, which is the inability to achieve or maintain an erection for real sex. There's porn-induced delayed ejaculation, which is the inability or difficulty reaching orgasm during sex. There's porn-induced anhedonia, like a lack of libido, lack of desire for real people, real relationships. There's porn-induced premature ejaculation, which occurs mostly with guys who train themselves to orgasm very quickly, like maybe when they were using pornography when they were younger. They always wanted to do it very quickly so they wouldn't get caught, and they sort of just trained their bodies to reach orgasm very quickly, and that can translate into real sex as well. And so there's all of these things can be reversed. The simple recipe for it is quit pornography, any sort of porn substitutes, porn fantasy, and oftentimes have at least a period of abstention from masturbation as well, and then rewire by practicing intimacy with a partner. And everyone that I've worked with has been able to reverse these problems and get over them. So it's not a permanent state of affairs. If you're struggling with any of these right now, know that there's very much a lot of hope.
So I got two more questions I'm curious. One will be about Carezza. Have you heard about that?
Sure, yeah.
And then the other one is, because these are for both, I have a couple friends who are into these two ones. And then I was talking to another friend. I'm talking to him about NoFap, and do you think he'll get more benefits from, like, he's never done it before. He uses porn or masturbates about daily. And I told him, hey, he accepted my challenge to do 30 days. And he's been finding it pretty hard. Like, I asked him, hey, so what day are you on now? He's like, I made it to 2.5 days, and now I'm on day 1. And I asked him like a week ago. And then he's like, well, another time someone asks for sex, and then he's been having a tough time with that. So like, I don't know if he's yet like a really firm believer in it. So what would you say he should, I could tell him to expect to experience within like 30 days? Because I kind of forget exactly.
Well, everyone's an individual. Everyone experiences different things in their journey, but I mean, that is a good challenge for people who think that it's not a problem for them, is, try to go without it for 30 days or 60 days. And
he's like, what, 2 days? He's like, Anthony, it's really tough. It's like, I'm struggling.
Yeah. And if you make that commitment to yourself and you're able to do it just fine, then sure, maybe it wasn't much of a problem for you. But if it's very difficult to do that, then that indicates that, yes, this might be a problem. You shouldn't need pornography or need masturbation. It's not food. It's not water.
Yeah. I think people kind of get confused with that sometimes, though. Mm-hmm. I definitely know that. For me, I'm like, it definitely felt like it was something I could never get a hold of. And there was a feeling of helplessness that I had, for sure. I wanted to ask your thoughts on Carezza, because a lot of my friends when they Google Hangout, personally, I don't know if I would morally do that, because I don't know if that's achieving the purpose of procreation, but that's just a philosophical thing. Don't worry about it. So what are your thoughts on that in general for like people who watch the video?
Yeah, I think that it's a fascinating topic, and one that anyone in a relationship should learn about. I think the resource that's best to start learning about that is a book by my friend Marnia Robinson called Cupid's Poisoned Arrow. So anyone who's interested in that should go check it out. And the purpose.
Oh, you know the author?
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny because I was talking to some of my friends. That's exactly the book that they were reading. That they're like, hey, this is interesting. So.
Yeah, she's a good friend. And the purpose of Carezza is not procreation, like you said. The purpose of Carezza is bonding and intimacy, and it's sex without orgasm as the goal. It tends to be much slower, gentler, more relaxed, just an exchange of love and energy. And people who like it and who use it tend to report like afterwards feeling just full of energy and life, and without some of the sort of hangover symptoms that some people experience after orgasm. And another central tenet of it is that biologically, we seem to be programmed to, when we're with somebody, to sort of satiate our sexual drive with that person over and over. And that biological process seems to be programmed to have us sort of lose interest in a partner after a few years and want to move on to someone new. Because that's like our biology wanting us to spread our genes and having a variety of children. And so this is a way of preventing that from happening and of maintaining a lasting, loving, intimate bond with somebody over a lifetime.
All right. Awesome. I love it. Well, I think our hour's just about up. So Noah, I cannot tell you from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate this, man. I love your work. It's been just awesome to do this call. And it's been fun. I hope it's been helpful for you. And again, anyone out there wants to see more from me, addicted to internetporn.com. The links will be in the description below. You can check it out, click it. And I'll be putting this on my channel as well. So I'll link to Anthony's YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel is Noah BE Church. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. All right. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.